Hi, Gemini Sun and Rising. This is Raina, and this video is for the transit of Jupiter in the sign of Aquarius beginning on December 19th, 2020, and continuing until the end of 2021. There will be a brief period where Jupiter goes into Pisces mid-year. But for the vast majority of the time, you're going to have Jupiter in a fellow air sign Aquarius, and this means that it forms a trine to either your sun or your ascendant, which is considered the easiest aspect in astrology in terms of two planets or 2 points interacting. So I actually didn't realize this until today that I had done videos on Saturn in Aquarius earlier this year. I was quite surprised when I was looking back at my playlists. And so I'm just going to do Jupiter for your sign and the last two signs that I have yet to do for this transit because, you can always go back on my channel and find what I said about Saturn. Saturn went into Aquarius in March and stayed there for a little while and then retrograded back into Capricorn. And Saturn will go into Aquarius on the 17th of December. And then both of these planets meet up in a conjunction, the closest in, I think it's been said 800 years or something like that, on the winter solstice on December 21st of 2020. And so that is considered very notable, to say the least. So let me just talk about how Jupiter is going to affect you, at the end of 2020 and throughout 2021. And I should say might affect you because you never know how it is going to personally play out for you. So you can just kind of observe more than anything and see if these themes come up in your life in some way, because Jupiter is the planet of luck and expansion. And so in whatever house and whatever sign it is transiting, we can look to both of these placements to see what the themes will be. So for the collective, having Jupiter in Aquarius is beneficial for the collective because Aquarius rules the 11th house, which connects to humanity as a whole. And Aquarius is that sign of the brotherhood of man, if you will. So all of us together, sense of equality. And then you have Jupiter, which is bestowing these blessings and, kind of enhancing or expanding this area. And Jupiter also lends a philosophical, or you could even say religious influence over things as well. And the reason that is important is that it's not just about the material. And so, if you're looking at something from a completely materialistic point of view, there's no sense of a higher meaning. It's just all about earthbound matters. And so I think that it can have a beautiful effect. I mean, this is one of the reasons why we talk about the Aquarian age, and these two planets both being in Aquarius, it is like kind of hinting at that. So for Gemini, this is occurring in your 9th house. And the significance of this is that Jupiter rules the 9th house in the sign of Aquarius in the universal chart. So every sign is a ruler of a particular house of the zodiac, and that is a particular area of life. And the 9th house represents expansion. So expansion can come in many forms. It can come from an intellectual perspective, which has to do with, in the more mundane world, university learning, academia, if you will, and it's called the higher mind. So in terms of the hierarchy of mundane knowledge, we look at the university as the creme de la creme, or the highest level. When you're talking about just in terms of knowledge, we would call this more wisdom if we were talking about from a philosophical point of view, because the ninth house is about philosophy. It's your philosophical structure on how you view life itself. Whether or not you believe in God, you can be an atheist and still have a life philosophy. For some people, their life philosophy may be hedonism. It's just like, grab the gusto. That used to be a beer commercial in the 70s, but that still is their philosophy. And for some people, it's a particular dogma from an organized religion. So the ninth house covers all those bases. And it also talks about geographical expansion in the form of long distance travel. So all of these things can be blown up or enhanced when Jupiter is transiting its own house, and it's also a planet associated with luck. So it seems to me that it's very lucky to have Jupiter transiting your ninth house. So this may be a year where if you have been wanting to travel, not just in the local area, which is actually the third house and the house that Gemini rules, because Gemini and Sag are opposing signs. So you rule the local area as opposed to foreign lands. And but it's not that. This is long distance. And you may be wanting to do it. You may have the opportunity to do it. Jupiter can also be about money, just like Venus. In Vedic astrology, Jupiter, like Venus, is called a benefic planet because it's considered to be a positive influence. And so that may be like an area that is easy for you to manifest in the coming year, traveling. Now, that can even be through work that you're doing, or if you are pursuing some kind of a spiritual goal, which could be also very lucky for you in the coming year, then you might be combining those two. So it's not uncommon these days when people train to be a yoga teacher and maybe some other kinds of spiritual disciplines where they're doing so in an exotic locale, that they can kind of combine with a bit of a vacation because it's in a beautiful place, or it seems more genuine. So in other words, like if you go to India to study yoga, you may feel like you're getting it from the horse's mouth, or you're going to be in some ashram that is, a famous place where a lot of yogis have come before you, and it just feels, like the place to be. But even if you were just traveling for fun, I think a lot of Geminis, if you were going to travel, there would be that intellectual component. Either you would be doing it maybe as an exchange student, or not really an exchange student. I'm thinking of studying abroad. Either doing something like that or teaching abroad. Maybe teaching English as a second language or something like that. Now, obviously, as I record this, we are still experiencing some restrictions with travel. I know people are still flying, so it might just be in certain areas that this is much more the case than others. So there might be places that still are very easy to travel to. But in any case, in general, you may have a more intellectually voracious nature. I wrote it like this. Now, when I'm doing these types of readings, I always go to websites to kind of wet my whistle and see what they say. And I chose cafeastrology.com to see what they say about the transit of Jupiter in the ninth house. And they put it a little bit differently. They said more intellectually curious. I said intellectually voracious, because I feel that with Jupiter, it really is almost excessive. And if you are a writer, which a lot of Geminis are, whether they are published or not, doesn't matter, because everybody is unpublished until they are published. And if you like to write, you're a writer. So if you are a writer, you might find it, you're more prolific. It's easier. You don't have that writer's block. It just comes, it's free flowing for you. Another, I was talking about academia. Now, some Geminis might be actual professors, or they have the training. They already have like maybe a master's degree, and they can teach at the college level. Maybe this is when you finally make that move to do so. Or let's say you're an adjunct professor, you might get like tenure, or you might get more teaching assignments. Maybe you end up teaching at more than one college, if you're teaching at a community college, for instance. But this can kind of expand your base of teaching, but also learning. And, that could even be somebody who's 40 years old, who goes back to college and goes for their bachelor's degree or what have you. Publishing is featured, because this is the house of publishing. And I didn't put this down, but also advertising is connected to the ninth house, and legal matters. Now, I'm still of the mindset that the seventh house is more about the actual outcome of legal matters, and the ninth house is the law itself. So I don't know if, other people think otherwise. I'm assuming, because they said legal matters on astro.com or cafeastrology.com. So I just wanted to put that out there. A funny thing that they mentioned is having good experiences with in-laws. So I take it that the ninth house has to do with in-laws. It's kind of funny, because a lot of people are familiar with the third house being siblings, and that's the house that you rule. And fourth house can be the mother. I mean, there's different things, or the family of origin, the parents themselves. But, then I guess the ninth house are your in-laws, so you might have good dealings with them. And by the way, I mean, just in general, you may be more optimistic having Jupiter in its own house. So I feel like, if you think about the law of attraction, which to me really does seem like something that we would associate with Jupiter, it definitely would stand to reason that this would work out very well for you, because of the optimistic nature that you may possess at this time. So, and I put down here philosophical expansion, and, even religious, if this is something that is relevant for your life. In some cases, this can be, maybe you're getting exposed to different belief systems, which are the ninth house. And so I put philosophical expansion, but expansion of belief systems. So also like connection with foreigners. So they may be lucky for you in some way. Now, obviously, with people from other countries, they may have other religions. And sometimes when we interact with others, their belief system might rub off on us, and it could be the turning point in a person's life. That does happen where a person turns you on to their religion. You see them and you see their demeanor and you want to be like them. And, upon striking up a conversation, if they are very, have a devout spiritual framework for their life, you might see that and try it out and find that it works for you as well. There was something else I want to say. Well, I was just talking about foreigners in general. Focus on the bigger picture in life. So not worrying so much about petty little details. And not to say that Geminis do this anyway, but if you are somebody like me, like I'm a sun in Sagittarius, but I have a moon in Virgo. So people with a prominent Virgo tend to hone in on these things. And it's like the princess and the pea, if you remember that story. It's just like this little thing, the fly in the ointment, that is, kind of like nagging at a person. And sometimes, it's kind of like that narrow focus versus the more expanded viewpoint, looking at things from the bigger picture, the higher perspective, whatever you want to call it. And sometimes you have to do both. Sometimes you have to kind of focus in on one thing. It's not to say that one is better than the other 100% of the time. So anyway, there you have it. Gemini, I hope that this resonated. You may even think of some of these themes as things that you have felt were, coming your way in one way or another. Actually, a few years ago, you had a series of eclipses in this house, along with the third house that you rule, which in your particular chart would be Leo. Now, obviously, so the Leo Aquarius axis was active during, I think, about 2016 to 2018. So you can think back between 2 and 4 years ago, what was going on in your life. And so this was kind of like another time when there were changes in these areas. And now that you have both Jupiter and Saturn in this area, this is a chance for you to make, especially with Saturn, to make a lot of set down foundation in this area. So for instance, for the Gemini person who is interested in writing, yes, you need that free-flowing ability to write, but you also need the discipline that Saturn provides, as well as the game plan of how you're going to do it. How are you going to market it? If the ninth house is marketing, advertising, you need to do that, especially in this day and age with the way that the literary publishing situation is going. It's not as it used to be, where you just like write your book and then you just hand it off to somebody else and they take it from there. There might be some cases where that happens, where they promote it for you, but in some instances, you might have to do a lot of that yourself. Either self-publish, or if you get published by somebody else, they might expect you to help them to market it. There aren't that many bookstores anymore, so you have to come up with other avenues. And so but the thing is that you can't just focus on the practical angle, which is that promotion. You also have to have the ability to write. So it's one doesn't happen without the other. So in fact, Jupiter and Saturn can, rather than cancel each other out, they can kind of keep each other in check. so that Saturn is not too restrictive and Jupiter is not too excessive when it comes to, ninth house matters. Okay, well, there you go. And if you would like a personal reading, if you'd like to look at 2021, have a natal chart reading, please click on the link below. It will take you to my website, which is rainamoonastrology.com. Thanks for listening. Take care. Bye.